So here are 10 of the strongest villains that Marvel has created to give all of their superhero teams a fearsome challenge, not only in power, but in spirit and motives as well. Number 1. Juggernaut. Cain Marko, better known as Juggernaut, is a longtime enemy and sometimes ally of the X-Men. As a child, Cain was regularly abused by his alcoholic father. His stepbrother, Charles Xavier, on the other hand, was treated much better, while also exceeding him in studies and sports. All of it caused Cain to hate Xavier for years. While serving in the US Army, Cain accidentally found the Temple of Sidorak and obtained the Crimson Gem. The gem's mystical power transformed Marko into Sidorak's avatar on Earth, the Juggernaut. Marko used his powers to spread chaos and cause destruction, often together with his partner in crime Black Tom Cassidy. After years of being a villain and terrorist, Marko started to reform. He reconciled with Xavier, joined the X-Men and later the Excalibur. When Asgardian god of fear descended on Earth, Cain was possessed by one of its servants, Kuarth Breaker of Stone, for a short time. Eventually, Marko became Sidorak's avatar once again and gained even greater strength. Number 2. The Mangog. Mangog, or the Mangog as it originally referred to itself, is the physical manifestation and sum total of the hatred of a billion beings from a race that was slaughtered by the ruler of Asgard and the Norse gods, Odin. Due to the fact this entire species was wiped out, it isn't exactly known what they did to incur Odin's wrath. They might have ruthlessly invaded Asgard, or one of them might as well have simply said the wrong word while in the All-Father's presence. Imprisoned deep beneath Asgard, Mangog was accidentally freed by the rock troll Ulik and went on to wage war against Odin and the other Norse gods on several occasions. Mangog proved to be physically unstoppable and is usually only defeated when his dependence on psychic energies, such as hatred, fear, or feelings of devotion, felt by other sentient beings to sustain itself, is exploited. Without such a source, Mangog shrinks to near nothingness. Number 3. Surtur. Surtur was a fire demon, lord of Muspelheim, and a significant figure in the prophecy of Ragnarok as the one who would initiate the fall of Asgard. Seeking to prevent this prophecy, Odin defeated Surtur thousands of years ago, taking the source of his power, the eternal flame, back to Asgard and confining Surtur to Muspelheim, where he remained for over 5,000 years. After Odin went missing following the Second Dark Elf conflict, a weakened Surtur intended to finally start Ragnarok, only to be defeated and killed by Thor. Despite this, Loki later resurrected him with the eternal flame and used him to defeat Hela. Surtur then fulfilled the prophecy of Ragnarok by destroying Asgard along with Hela and himself in the process, unaware that the realm had already been evacuated. There is an ancient Asgardian prophecy describing the ultimate destruction of Asgard in a cataclysmic event known as Ragnarok. According to the prophecy, the end of Asgard was to begin with the fire demon Surtur, empowered by his eternal flame, raining destruction down on the Asgardian homeworld, consuming it in flames. Seeking to subvert fate, Odin battled Surtur, incapacitating him and taking the eternal flame, which he brought back to Asgard, sealing it in a vault beneath the palace. Surtur was left severely weakened, hobbled by a damaged leg and arm, in Muspelheim, where he spent thousands of years plotting vengeance. Number 4. Gorr the God Butcher. Gorr the God Butcher was born on a planet with no name, almost every day on the brink of starvation. He was taught to trust in the gods, but they never answered his prayers. At an early age, his mother and father died, leaving Gorr to fend for himself in the harsh environment. Years later he married and fathered some children. However, most of them died. Gorr's pregnant maid Hera was killed during an earthquake, and one by one his children perished until he was left with one son, Agar. When Agar was on the brink of death due to starvation, Gorr sought to ease his suffering and told his son they would soon reach a forest where they would never go hungry again. Even after death, Gorr had managed to leave his mark on the Thor of Earth 616, as Gorr's philosophy was responsible for Thor becoming unworthy and being unable to lift Mjolnir. Number 5. Onslaught. Onslaught was a sentient psionic entity created from the consciousness of two extremely powerful mutants, Professor Charles Xavier and Magneto. During a battle between the X-Men and Magneto's acolytes, Wolverine slashed Magneto, and in response, Magneto ripped out the adamantium from Wolverine's bones, severely injuring him to the point that his healing factor had trouble healing him. For Professor Xavier, this was the last straw. Having tolerated every one of Magneto's evil actions, even his recent actions that had killed hundreds of people across the globe in a single day, he finally snapped. He used his telepathic powers to shut down Magneto's mind, rendering him catatonic. During the psionic contact, Magneto's anger, grief, and lust for vengeance entered Professor Xavier's consciousness, commingling with every long-suppressed negative feeling the professor had endured during the last 30 years. This aggregation resulted in a separate personality forming within Professor Xavier, the being known as Onslaught. Number 6. Abomination. Emil Blonsky is a former Special Ops commander of the British Royal Marines who was loaned to SOCOM. In his efforts to apprehend Hulk, Blonsky was recruited by United States Army General Thaddeus Ross and injected with a variant of the super soldier serum. After losing to Hulk during a battle, Blonsky had himself transfused with Banner's gamma-irradiated blood, causing him to transform into the Hulk-sized abomination. He then proceeded to go on a rampage in Harlem where he was defeated by Hulk, after which he was taken into the US Army's custody and incarcerated in a cryo-cell facility in Alaska. By 2024, he had been transferred to Damage Control's Supermax prison in California. Not long after, he encountered Wong, who temporarily freed him to participate in a cage match with him at the Golden Daggers Club in Macau. Following the match, Blonsky willingly returned to his cell to resume his sentence. Number 7. Apocalypse. En-Sabah, the Seven Lights, was the first of the second generation of mutant kind, born in ancient Egypt thousands of years ago. Abandoned at birth due to his monstrous appearance, he was found and raised by a ruthless nomadic warrior. He was forced into slavery, but as his powers grew he turned on his masters and conquered all that stood in his way. He championed an extreme philosophy of mutant supremacy and survival of the fittest. Only the strong deserve to survive, and anyone that shows weakness should be mercilessly destroyed. He was recruited by the Celestials to become the latest Apocalypse, charged with ensuring that evolution takes its natural course. They enhanced his form, becoming a mix of organic and celestial technology, boosting his shape-shifting and other powers to godlike levels. Number 8. Galactus. Galactus is a cosmic being that consumes the energy found in planets for sustenance. He appoints heralds such as the Silver Surfer to scout for suitable worlds, and he empowers them with the power cosmic. Galactus is from a universe before this one and was originally a Ta'a named Galen. At the end of his universe, Galen was approached by the sentience of the cosmos, Eternity's predecessor, and fused with its essence, allowing him to survive and become Galactus in the next cycle. Galactus was recently killed by Thor. He was reborn when his corpse, reanimated by the Destroyer, devoured energy from the M'Kraan crystal. Galactus now hungers for knowledge instead of worlds. Number 9. Hela. Hela was allegedly the daughter of the Asgardian god of mischief, Loki, and of the sorceress giantess Angerboda. The three Asgardian goddesses of fate, the Norns, are said to have warned the Asgardian gods that Hela would prove to be a great danger to them. Odin, ruler of Asgard, decreed that Hela would become goddess and ruler of the spirits of the dead on the day of her maturity. These spirits were in the other dimensional realms of Hel and Niflheim, two more of the 9 worlds, both of which Hela ruled. However, Odin himself directly ruled the souls of Asgardians and their human worshippers who died in battle as heroes, and had the Palace of Valhalla built in a distant section of Asgard to house them. During World War II, Hela's mind was controlled by the Nazis, and she was forced to fight the invaders. Number 10. Thanos. Thanos was one of the last sons of Alars, progenitor of the second colony of Eternals on Titan, and Sui-San, the last survivor of the original settlement of Eternals in this moon. He was born with purple, hide-like skin and a massive body due to his deviant syndrome. The very first time his mother laid her eyes on the baby, she was driven mad and tried to kill him. After that, the cosmic Ghost Rider from an alternate future came to kill the baby, but when the penance stare didn't work on Thanos, the Rider decided to take the baby under his wing and change the future. The Rider tried to convince Galactus to help him raise the baby, but the cosmic being refused and instead wanted to kill the baby himself. With the Watcher bearing witness, the Rider vowed to raise the baby on his own, creating an alternate timeline where Thanos grew to become an interplanetary dictator.